Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, I get to chat with Widza Gustin. Shef Wiz was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. She graduated with a Grand Diploma in Culinary Arts from the International Culinary Center, formerly known as the French Culinary Institute. Before getting into the culinary world, her journey began in the corporate world selling auto insurance. Everything she learned about the art and value of quality customer service has contributed to the success of her culinary career. Among her internships was a stint at the Food Network, working on shows like Worst Cooks of America. And then she became the chef and director of client services at Sound Lounge, which is New York's #1 independent audio production company. Here, Widza catered to celebrities like Ethan Hawke and Derek Luke. Now, as a freelancer, she continues to contribute to Food Network. She's worked with Gordon Ramsay, and she's even been a culinary producer for Food Network's Chopped. So, Wiz, it's so great to have you here on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor. And you can call me Wiz. Everybody calls me Wiz.
I will definitely call you Wiz.
A lot of people mistake the D before the D, so I'm like, just call me Wiz.
Well, let's start with that. Tell us about your name, how to pronounce it properly, what it means.
So my full name is Widza. So the D comes before the Z. Ever since I was young, anytime I would say my name is Widza and people would see my name on paper, they automatically say Wizda. So I'm like, that's not it. It's Wizda, but it's Widza. But everyone continued to just botch it up. Even in emails as I got older, even if it said like best Widza Gustin, everyone would say, hi Widza, how are you? So there was a point in time when I was in Munchies at Vice, the manager of the kitchen, his name was Barry. He was like, can we just call you Wiz? Because we're not going to be doing this back and forth here. I'm like, you know what? That actually is a good idea. Call me Wiz. Ever since then, I just tell everybody, call me Wiz. That way you don't have to like botch up the name. There's no meaning to it. My parents come from Haiti, so I'm Haitian American, but we don't have my mom didn't come up with a meaning for that name. I always ask her and she's like, there's no meaning. I had a friend that actually had a name similar to Widza, so she just concocted the name and just came up with it off the bat.
Very cool. And then tell me about the name of your business and how you named it.
So it's called 1804 Cuisine. So it's 180H4 Cuisine. The reason why I call it 1804 Cuisine is because 1804 is the year that Haiti gained their independence from France. So the 0 and the H in between 1804, Haitians have a saying where whenever it's like they're surprised or they're happy or they're sad, they always go, oh. They're like, oh. So I put that in the middle of 1804 just so it can like mix together, just to, pay homage to my culture, pay homage to Haiti, and literally like connect everything together. Our sayings, our food, the reason why I wanted to even start up this business. And I'm a very proud Haitian, so I definitely thought the name would fit my business.
That's great. I love how you incorporated your heritage with even the name. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What does it mean to be Wiz?
What it means to be me is hardworking, funny, bubbly, very assertive, know when it's time to party and know when it's time to get down to business, very family oriented, love my friends, selfless. Those are a lot of things that can describe me. I am very big on hard work. That's been ingrained in me ever since I was young with my dad. My dad has probably been like that role model when it comes to literally working from 7 in the morning to 8 at night and just providing for his family. There was not one day he complained. There was not one day not at least that I heard. But when it came to coming to the United States, having that American dream. My parents didn't really, quote unquote, have that American dream. They just wanted to come to the United States and do better for their kids. And they wanted to raise their kids out here. So when they did, in fact, come out here, there wasn't necessarily a blueprint that they were able to show us when it comes to, following your dreams and doing that, all that kind of stuff. I am very big on when it comes to going after what you want, literally not taking no as an answer. When one door closes for me, we're going to the next door. When that next door closes, we're going to pray to God and say, God, what's going on? Because I need a door to open right now. So yeah, that's what it means to be me.
And I totally relate to that. I think part of it is being immigrant kids. You know, my parents came the year before I was born. So I was born in Queens and raised there, but that whole work ethic, whether it's we want to do better for our kids because we didn't have those opportunities back home, or it's we want to make sure that our kids are okay so we can go back home. I don't know if your parents ever said one day we're going back to Haiti. My parents had originally thought that. Then after living in America for a while, they're like, wait, why would we want to go back? How do we make the most of what we have here?
And that's amazing that your parents actually want to stay here. My parents' goal was to go back to Haiti. Like, I'm gonna raise my kids here. You guys settle and do what y'all need to do, and we're going back home. Like, they built their home out there while I was like in high school, like putting in money to make sure that they build houses, like acquire land for when we in fact go out there. The sad part about it is Haiti and their political craziness that's happening right now. So it's hard to go back there, but that was always my parents' goal. They were like, you know what, we're coming out here. We're going to do good for you guys. We're going to show you the ropes when it comes to, you know, raising you and everything. But once you got it, we out the door. We headed straight to Haiti, you know?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's the same. And only a handful of my peers' parents actually went back to stay there. Most of them built houses back home, but
yeah.
Or they may like do wintertime over there and then come back here. But nobody ever like really settled back because everything changed back there. It's not the same place when they grew up. And they didn't expect that. So tell me a little bit how your cultural Haitian heritage has informed your life and your work.
January 1st, 1804 was the year that Haiti gained their independence from France. And they pretty much created that blueprint of like literally breaking free from slavery. So like I said before, hardworking is something that's ingrained in me, and literally fighting for what you believe in and fighting for what you feel is like true to you. That's big for me. And that means a lot when it comes to anything I do, whether it's like producing a show, food styling a shoot, being a mom, because I am a mom of one. I have a daughter, and I want to make sure that what ended up happening back in the day in what formed Haiti and essentially is what is able to in fact like help me throughout life when it comes to like being a business owner or being a friend, being a family member, whatever the case may be. But essentially like for business though, it helps me in just knowing like you gotta be in 10 toes down all times. You need to make sure that you are pushing. You need to make sure that you are literally driving yourself to the brink so you could be able to get what you want and make sure that you can give 1,000%. I don't believe in 100%. You got to give 1,000. Like you have to give your best, you know?
I feel like different Caribbean islands, what I get the vibe is we're laid back and take it easy and we're going to work our butts off, right? Multiple jobs, whatever it is. And I think that's so cool because I've found in Asian cultures, we don't do the laid back part at all. It's more of like, no, we got to keep pressing. I'm like, you need a balance of some sort of rhythm, right? How do you feel like you've incorporated that in your life?
I wish I could say I have. Like I grew up in a very structured Caribbean household. You don't come inside of the house without a 90 or above, or you don't come inside the house with like bad grades. You have to go ahead and work hard. Like we had to be close to perfection. So trying to find that rhythm, I mean, girl, after going to therapy, that's what's been trying to help me with getting into that rhythm.
We all do.
But
we all do.
I know, right? But I do feel at the end of the day, as hard as it is to say like, oh my God, there's nothing, like you can't be perfect. Having that rigid structure and putting that in your mind, knowing that I have to do A, B, C, D, that helps you in being able to get through life. That helps you with being able to have a balance. It helps you with getting a rhythm. And I know it's like tough or whatever the case may be and traumatic, but if you look at the underlayers and you look at what was being taught to you, it's a positive. There is some positive things when it comes to that, you know, because my mom and my dad, they did not play no games when it came to and especially their parents too. They didn't play no games when it came to showing respect to elders or making sure that you're getting good grades in school or whatever the case may be, making sure that you're helping out your parents in the kitchen when you're cooking. I do think my cultural background and the way my parents were raised, some of the stuff that they were taught, and it essentially did in fact help me so I could be able to pass that down to my daughter, you know?
Yeah. Tell me about like how the Haitian culinary scene, how did that affect you and your work and what you cook? And part of that is like, I know that you were featured on Food Network for a Haitian dish.
I was in fact on Food Network when it came to showcasing soup jumeau, which is a very popular, important dish in the Haitian culture, because that was actually the soup that we drank when we gained our independence. I actually made this soup when I was on set for Chopped one day. One of my jobs were to make sure that I would go ahead and like cook food for Ted, the host. So I'm like, let me do soup jumeau. Let's see if he's gonna like it. And I'm like, I was so confident. I'm like, I know he's gonna like it. So I went ahead and I got everything. I got the squash, I got the potatoes, I got the carrots and everything. And I'm cooking it down. And I end up giving it to Sarah, who's actually the culinary director for Chop. And she was like, wait, hold on. She was like, Wiz, this is literally similar to this dish that her husband, and her husband is from
Morocco.
Morocco. Yes. So I'm just like, are you serious? She's like, I swear to God, Widza. She's like, this is the same exact dish.
Wow.
And I gave it to Ted, and Ted was like, what is this? Like, I need to know, like, what did you put in the soup? And that gives me such a good feeling, because it's like food connects us all. Food is, and a lot, we say this all the time and it sounds cliche, but it is so true. To be able to have my boss who has her husband from Morocco, and then we have Ted who's an American and he's drinking this soup. It's like so many connections. So it helps me when it comes to creating conversations. It helps me when it comes to connecting with people. And it also helps me with being able to get people to start researching more about Haitian food. Because I feel like once you get a taste of either soup jumeau or whether it's dilijonjo, which is our black mushroom rice, it's like, what is this? I need to know how to make it. I need to know where to find it. And that starts opening up the doors for a lot of like Black businesses, you know?
Yeah, I think that's an important point, is people don't know what they don't know until they're exposed. And you're exposing, because I don't know any Haitian restaurants. Well, I live in the South, so I don't know any Haitian restaurants, but there's Ethiopian restaurants. And when I talk to people who try it, they're like, wow, have you had Ethiopian food? So it's just that having that one like little foot in the door. And it was so great to see you on Food Network showcasing that, because I don't remember them ever showcasing Haitian food on Food Network.
And it's so important, and the story behind it is so important. So to have been able to even showcase that and talk about that and tell that story, it was the biggest honor ever. And to even be able to go to my mom like, okay, mommy, how do we do this? What's the background? Like, am I missing anything? So it connects me with my family. It connects me with others. It connected me with a lot of people on social media. So it definitely was a big thing.
That's awesome. For people who don't know much about Haitian culture, what is something that is stereotypical of your cultural background, but it's actually true?
This is true. When in a Haitian household, you have a choice of a couple of professions. You either want to be a nurse, you either be a doctor, you either be a lawyer. I don't think teacher was one of them. So those were like the top 3 ones that you had to be. And that's essentially what, when women came down with their husbands to the United States, that's what they did. They would go into the medical field. They would work hard. Even the men, my dad was actually in school for nursing. But he ended up stopping. He went into pharmaceutical after that. But my mom, she was a home health aide. There's a lot of home health aides as well. So it's like a lot of the women are so nurturing, and that's what they are really, really good at. I don't really see big like customer services. It's more like of the medical for a lot of our people in our culture, in all honesty. Yeah. Even the men.
So when you were little, what did you imagine your life would be like as an adult?
Me and my sisters, we shared a room, and we had a box television where we would watch on channel 13, Arthur, Reading Rainbow, all this type of stuff. But Julia Childs used to come on there too, and I used to watch her with Jacques Pepin. So I would always watch, and I'm like, oh my God, I was like, I can't even imagine getting on television and showing people how to cook. That would always be in the back of my mind. But also too, I had to get good grades in order for me to be a doctor, in order for me to, so I had to continue school, and like there was no chef or culinary, there was nothing like that. My parents did not want to hear that. So I always imagined that I would go to school, get good grades, get into college, and either be a nurse or a doctor, which I essentially ended up going to college for nursing. But I was like, this is not for me. I can't do this. Let's go ahead and just, go another route. Granted, my parents were not so happy about that, but it worked out. I would say it worked out.
Yeah. So then was there this struggle of honoring your parents versus driving towards that dream?
There was a struggle of being true to myself with my parents. If anyone knows what I feel like when it comes to being in a strict household and having strict parents, it's like their way or the highway. So it's like you need to be on their path, because of course they want to see better for you, and they see that this is what's better for you, but essentially you're telling them like, this is what's making me happy. There was no like being happy in life. There was making money in life when it came to being in a Haitian household. So I felt like I struggled with I would say like just letting my parents know that everything's gonna be okay. That was probably my big struggle. Like, I'm gonna be fine. Don't you worry. I got this. It's okay. You don't need to worry. But their parents, they're gonna worry. They're like, oh my God, this is not the life that I saw for my child. I saw her going to school, getting a white coat, or whatever the case may be. And especially when they're seeing like their other friends and their other family members, and my cousins are like going to school for nursing and all that type of stuff. And I'm like, you want to do this? So that was probably the biggest struggle.
As you were growing up in your neighborhood, who you went to school with, was it a cultural mix? And if so, did you feel like you fit in? Did you feel like your dreams were different than everybody else? Like, how was that in the growing up years?
Once again, I'm one of five, and my parents, we ended up moving into the projects when I was like 4 years old. So I grew up in the projects. I come from the hood. I never sugarcoat it. I'm never the type of person to hide that. So dangerous neighborhood. It wasn't the best neighborhood to live in with 5 kids. And it was a neighborhood that wasn't diverse. A lot of Black African Americans. You didn't have Caribbeans out there that I knew when I was younger. We were like legit the only Haitian kids that would be going to school. My brother was called like Haitian booty scratcher, all this. Like, we were bullied when we were younger because we were the only Haitian American kids. So that was tough. And I look back at it, I would say that was tough, not only for us, but for my parents, just to go ahead and keep 5 kids on a straight line where there is drugs, where there is prostitution, where there is so many like negative things in that community. But in that whole negativity, there was some positive. Me and my sisters, we flourished in school. We got good grades. We got great grades. We got awards. We were doing extracurricular activities. I think from when we were younger, my mom always put in our brain, like, don't let this be like your circumstance. Like, as much as you see that this is around you, you can do better. And I feel like there were a lot of different people also in my journey in life that would look at me and say like, okay, you got something special in you. Don't go ahead and be around these little hard-headed kids. Stick to what you know and continue to go ahead and lead the good path so you can be able to soar and apply yourself. I would say that my mom and my dad, they put in a lot into us when it came to making sure that we didn't fall into the negativity in the community.
It's so great to hear how you all flourished. And I think that's a misperception that if you don't go to the best schools and get the best education, you're not going to turn out well. But I don't think that's true. I think a lot of it is your family and how you're getting that support at home and that encouragement and that butt kicking so that you do flourish.
I agree. My mom, when she came to America, my mom and my dad spoke a little bit of English, but my mom never necessarily was able to grasp English fluently. My first language was speaking Haitian Creole. So that's all I spoke. And I was in ESL in the beginning of school, in elementary school, but I learned English and was because there was a lot of kids that would speak English around us. My mom, she, as much as she wanted to be the support system to me, she supported me the best way that she could. She couldn't help me with my homework. She couldn't help me when it came to like doing math or whatever the case may be, because it wasn't essentially, that's not what she learned when she was in Haiti. But she did in fact give us the life values, like the life lessons, so we can be able to know like, okay, if you don't understand this, that means that you got to go to this next person, try to ask them for help, fight for what you need to do in order for you to soar. That was always her. You need to be excellent. Excellent.
So I watched those same, I would watch Julia Child. I would watch Yan Can Cook. I don't know if this is beyond your time, but there was the Frugal Gourmet, all the PBS cooking shows. But I don't think I ever thought about, oh, that could be like an actual job, but that is what opened my eyes to the culinary world. It's so neat to see how something that was kind of a seed in you when you were young, in ways you never asked or imagined, later on all came into fruition, right?
What is so crazy about it too is when I was in fact young and watching Julia Childs, like you said, I didn't look at it as this is a job, like this is somebody's career and this is something that someone is doing, or even like watching Martha Stewart or Rachel Ray. But when I graduated high school, don't get me wrong, when I was in high school, I didn't do the best. I did what I could in order for me to graduate. But when I did graduate high school, I remember I watched the first episode of Chopped. And I tell Sarah, the director of Chopped, this all the time. I watched my first episode of Chopped. This was 2009. And this was actually the year that Chopped came out. And I'm watching. I'm like, oh my goodness. I cannot believe the show. I would go into people's houses, change the channel to Food Network and watch Chopped because I was so addicted to it. And like you said, it was a seed that's been in me for the longest, especially like helping my mom in the kitchen, watching her cook. When we would go to Haiti and watching like the village people cook, it's always been something that's been inside of me, always something that, you know, that little voice in your ear that's just like, just do it, just do it, just do it, just do it. And I didn't know how to go about researching to see how to be a food stylist. So I didn't even know, like I said, those were jobs until later in the game when I did in fact get older. I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and see what we can do about this.
That's great. Yeah, same thing with me. The way I got into professional cooking was as a personal chef. And I didn't know that was a thing. And I think I had heard Oprah has a private chef. I'm like, people have their own chefs? Like, that's amazing. So as you were the only immigrants in your building, in your school, and you definitely got that bullying, when you hear things in our culture about African Americans, you're not technically African American. So how do you see that, relate to that?
I would essentially say that we do relate to being African American. I mean, African. Because Haitians, when we did in fact get into Haiti and Hispaniola, whatever the case may be, we were slaves coming from Africa. And I feel like there's a big debate. There's always a huge debate about where we come from. Everybody comes from Africa. And I feel especially when it comes to Haitians, the slaves, they came from Africa. So a lot of the culture, like a lot of the things that Africans do as far as like Nigerians, Ghanaians, Congolese, whatever the case may be, there are a lot of cultural values that they hold to their hearts that Haitian Americans, the same way. We are all similar, whether you like it or not. We may be in different locations in right now, but as far as like our origin, it's pretty much the same, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Tell me what life is like as a mom, because I've worked with you in production. You had to leave your daughter for a little bit, living in Tennessee with your daughter in New York, but then, and I don't know if people understand production life. Production life is not a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job. And so
a lot of people
how
are
has
so
that been?
confused whenever I say that. You're right, because whenever I explain my role to friends or family, or like, my mom now fully gets it. She now understands like what I do for work. She knows like if I'm gonna be on a show, she's like, okay, she's gonna be gone for like 12 hours out of the day for like the next 4 months. It's hard being in production, being a mom. I remember when I graduated from culinary school, and my goal with graduating culinary school was to be the best executive chef in New York. I ended up getting a job at Nobu, and I was there for like 12 to 14 hours a day on my feet, literally. And I started during Fashion Week in New York City, so it was
Wow.
a time. And I was a new time mom. I'm talking about my daughter was probably like 4, 5 months. So
Wow.
I'm like in the bathroom crying every single second because I'm like, why am I doing this? I have a child at home. It was hard. It was very, very hard. But then fast forward, when I ended up getting into production life, it was something super different. Yes, I was on my feet 12 hours plus in a day. My daughter was older. And plus, it was in fact something that I truly love. Production life there's just nothing like it. I don't know if, and you know, because we've been on set together, and it's always an adventure, like working on, especially a show like Chop, when you do specific things, whether it's like the sourcing, which I've done a lot in the past, or whether it's producing on the floor, whether it's like being in the control room. Every single role on production holds a value when it comes to putting the show together. When I was in Tennessee, it was hard because it's not like I could go ahead and hop in a car and drive to my daughter. It was a FaceTime conversation. But I always let her know, like, this is something that I really, really love to do. There's no way that I can be the best mom that I can be for my daughter if I'm not the best person for myself. And that began with following my dreams and making sure that I was happy in my career, happy in what I was doing when it came to making money, in order for me to be able to provide for my child. Because in the end, she's going to go ahead and see, hey, my mom did the best that she could by making sure that she followed in what she truly believed in. And that's also going to instill values in my child, for her to know, like, hey, whatever you want, go and get it. There's no no. Like, for me, I don't accept no. And that's how she is too. She's that girl. She's like, if I say no, you can't Robux today, she's gonna be like, but why? Like, let's figure out why I can't have this right now. Like, please explain it to me. So I guess I'm doing something right when it comes to making sure that she is growing up to be like the best woman that she could be, you know?
And I think often people assume mothering means you get your child fed and make sure they're doing good in school and all that. But you touched on this. We are mothers that are role models, right? They see what we do, they catch that. And even if it doesn't sink in today, it's going to at some point. And they're going to look at us and be like, hey, you know, mom did this for herself, for her job, for her well-being, whatever it is. And that it's going to make them stop and think, for their future, it's going to also be like that. So it really is important that we are our whole selves, right? Not just we've sacrificed everything to be mothers. We have sacrificed so much, but it's not the typical taking care of the child is the most important thing. It's a whole thing.
I truly feel that your support system plays a huge role when it comes to being in production, because like you said, it's not a regular 9 to 5 job. I'm not going to work in the morning and coming off in the afternoon and my child's in daycare and I'm able to go ahead and pick her up. I don't know any daycare centers that would be open up for 12 hours, to be honest. If so, that's amazing. But my mom has been there from beginning until the end. My sisters have been here from the beginning to the end. My best friend, she's her godmom. She's been here from the beginning to end. And I do want to retract me saying like single mom, because my daughter's father is in fact in her life. But when it comes to like my side of things, like the support system that I have on my side, when it's time for Widza to work, it's like all hands on deck. What are we going to do in order for us to go ahead and help you? And that essentially helps me in just knowing, like, if I got a dream and I want to be able to chase it, I have people here that's able to support me in it, you know?
So you're doing all this production work. How are things then with your catering, with your personal company? How do you balance all of that?
I'd never thought about opening a catering company. My mom came to my house one day and I was just like, you know what, mommy? I think I just want to like cook Haitian food for people. I want to like merge cultures together and like merge cuisines together and like cook. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and start creating content and I'm going to put it on Instagram. I remember my first picture on Instagram for 1804 Cuisine was this square flat plate that I made shrimp and grits on. And the shrimp that I ended up using were like these little baby shrimps. And I put it on top of the grits. So in Haiti, we call it maï moulin. And you could essentially use that as grits too. I didn't know nothing about food styling at that time. I had this big square, like metallic piece of foam board that they usually put behind walls or whatever, insulation. So I ended up using it as like my background and I posted it on Instagram. No hits at all. I didn't hear nothing at all. So I ended up saying, you know what, that don't matter. I'm still gonna go ahead and do it. So I just started continuing like perfecting my craft, working on knife skills. I still was in culinary school when I was starting to try to see how to go about doing a catering company. I graduated culinary school. I ended up getting a job with this company called Sound Lounge. And when I was there, I would pretty much make food for the producers. I made food for like the celebrities that came in because it was post-production for audio for like a lot of big time commercials like Super Bowl slots and everything like that. And it wasn't until I got my first gig, and the first gig that I got was Derek Luke. He's been in, I think it's Antoine Fisher with Denzel Washington. He was in Alicia Keys' Teenage Love Affair music video. And he came in one day, where did you guys buy this chicken? He's like, I want to get this chicken for an event that I'm having. So the gentleman who's actually in, Rob Brown, sorry. He's like, oh, no, we didn't buy that. He's like, Wiz, she's our chef here. She's the one that did it. And he's like, I need to get your contact information. So I gave him my contact information. He ended up writing me. He's like, I would love to have you cater my birthday party. It's in New Jersey. And I was like, of course, I'll definitely do it. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, I don't know how to price. I don't know how to scale. Food costs I learned a little bit about in school, but I wasn't so proficient at it and I wasn't the best at it. So I'm like, Widza, pray to God, put prayer first, ask him if this is what you're supposed to do and go do it. I prayed about it. I spoke to my mom. My mom and my dad, they're huge Christians. So they're like, Widza, prier. Prier means to pray. She's like, make sure you pray. Go ahead and put your knees on the floor and make sure you pray to God. I was like, that's what I'm going to do. So I ended up doing that. I don't know what sign I ended up getting to say to do it because at first I was telling my sisters, I was like, I honestly don't think I should do this because I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea how to scale this. I don't know how much chicken to buy. I don't know how much of this to buy. It was like, Widza, you need to understand. You asked God for this. You asked him a lot of times to get you in this field. So now he's giving it to you. Go ahead and go. So I made huge mistakes during that catering gig, but it helped me in being able to, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. This is my thing. Ever since then, I started just putting it out like, and you know, once you get that first celebrity or whoever the case may be, everybody's like, oh my God, let me go ahead and book her. Let me see what she can do for me. So ever since then, I started getting like different clients and I would baby showers, weddings, done birthday parties. I went in there not knowing what was what. And I told myself when I started getting more clients, I told myself, I was like, you know what? I can't focus on catering and do Sound Lounge at the same time. Quit Sound Lounge. I ended up putting in an application for the Food Network and I got in there as an intern. And I still wasn't really doing that much catering. I was doing a little bit here and there. And it wasn't until the pandemic. I got into Food Network as an intern probably June of 2019. The pandemic, I think, happened March of 2020. And I was just like, Lord, what? I was like, what just happened? Like, you really just, I got into Food Network. I was going crazy. I was like, I don't know what to do. I ended up using what I had to start giving out food to different hospitals, like, because I know there were first responders that were not really eating good, or they didn't even have access to be able to go and get food from the grocery stores because they was in the hospital all the time. And I had a lot of friends and family that were in the medical field. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start donating foods to the hospital, which I started doing. From then on, like literally it's like the ball was rolling. Like as the world started to open up, it was like, I'm having a party here. Can you go ahead and cater this? Can you cater that? And I was like, sure, I'll definitely do that. I feel like in the midst of that, like during the pandemic was when I was able to like fully focus on catering, create the content that I needed to create while she would hold like the camera, or she would hold the metallic foil to make sure that the metallic like piece to make sure that we're getting like the right shot. Like that was my assistant throughout everything when it came to catering. She would come to me on catering jobs and everything like that. I feel like during that time is when I was able to really, really lock in on that. I haven't really catered recently because of production. Like we said before, it's not a job that's a 9-to-5 job, and catering is not a 9-to-5 job either. And I was a one-man show. It was me prepping. It was me hauling things into a U-Haul truck or a rental truck. The person that would probably be there with me would be my older sister. She was like my sous chef. I would definitely love to get back into it. The only reason why it's in this time now, and also in this climate, with the way that food cost is set up right now, and a lot of people don't really have that many parties that much anymore too. It's hard to celebrate when we are dealing with such hard times, you know? I actually did a lot of private chefing as well when I was during the pandemic. So I feel like that's more intimate. You connect more. It's like a one-on-one experience, you know, with your clients. It helps the clients with seeing exactly what you're doing. Like you don't have just like pans of food ready and available for like a lot of people that are at the event. Being a private chef is like, it's super fun. It's something that is an adventure. From the time that you have to go and shop at the farmer's market for your edible flowers or for your produce or for like your fresh greens, whatever the case may be, and then having to haul it uptown to go to the client's house, or having to go to another vendor to get like the best meats possible or the best cheeses for like a charcuterie. Private chef is definitely one of those things that I would say I've done as well, and it's something that I would love to do again. It's just finding the right time to do it, you know?
Right. And thankfully there's Instacart, so you don't have to haul everything. But it's so nice when you have a client who's like, spend whatever to get the best of whatever. And you're like, oh my word, I get to buy these ingredients that I could never afford.
Yes. When I first started in the Food Network as an intern, I was an intern shopper. I worked with the purchasing team. Although I love Instacart to death, love Fresh Direct, I am that one girl that goes to the grocery store. I need to squeeze my lime to see if it's soft. I need to take a look at the eyes of my red snapper fish to see if it looks good. I need to smell it to see if it still smells good. I want to be like hands-on there when it comes to purchasing my produce, or even like purchasing my herbs and vegetables.
Other Caribbean islands have a good-sized Indian population. Is it like that in Haiti? I just have no idea.
Not in Haiti. I know more so of like my daughter, she's half Trinidadian, and there's Indian in that culture. There's Indian in the Guyanese culture as well. But when it comes to Haiti, there's no Indian that I know of.
You would totally know because you'd have like more curries and things like that.
I would, but it's not.
Do you like Indian food?
I love Indian food. It's so funny because the first restaurant that I went to when I was dating my daughter's father, we would watch Man versus Food. This was when we were like in our food phase. And there was a restaurant called Brick Lane. I think it was called Brick Lane Curry in New York City. We ended up going there because it was on Man versus Food. And the curry, they said, was like super spicy, like hot. So he's like, we got to try it. We ended up going there, and it probably was like the best Indian food that we've ever had. Like it was so good. One thing about me, I always want to learn more about different cultures. And like I said, food connects us. I want to see what kind of curries you guys use in India, and as far as like how it can be put into a Haitian dish, how we can merge the two together. My best friend, she's Guyanese and she's big on curry. So it's like, curry is like it's my thing on this side.
Yeah. I do these chai classes to introduce people to spices because the culture down here is a little homogenous, so there's not a lot of exposure. So when I do chai, because you've got the certain subset of culture who gets super excited in the fall when Starbucks comes out with their pumpkin spice latte, And I'm just like, but a lot of the spices we use in our cooking is in that spice blend. And so then I start teaching about chai, not chai tea, because chai tea means tea, and not chai tea latte. Latte is Italian. We don't speak Italian in India, so it's just chai. But then when I introduce these spices individually, and then it's like an opening up this world of Indian food because they like those spices. So I was just curious with Haitian food, what kinds of spices y'all use that are probably similar, because if you've got Moroccan spices, there's also similar spices in Moroccan food that travel to, because of French colonization that got to Haiti. So anyway, next time you're in Tennessee, I'll cook you some Indian food.
Yes, I'm looking forward to. One thing that I love a lot is chai because of all of the spices. I love a spice tea. Haitians love spice. We love
tell me about, is there a Haitian spice tea custom there?
I wouldn't say it's like a Haitian spice tea. There's this beverage that we drink during Christmas. It's called cremas. I actually developed it for a recipe for the Food Network. It's on foodnetwork.com. And I use spices such as like star anise, allspice. I actually incorporated green cardamom inside of there, but we don't use green cardamom pods in Haiti. But the reason why I ended up putting that in there, because like I said, I love chai. I love having like a spice tea, something that has like flavor. And that's what Haitians are big on. We don't like bland stuff. Like that doesn't work for us at all. We need something that has like some kind of kick, some kind of oomph.
Even moving here in the South, the big thing is biscuits and gravy. And I'm from New York, right? So I didn't have biscuits and gravy. Like we're a bagel culture. So when I came down here, I'm like, well, I got to try it. And the biscuits were good, but this gravy, I'm like, what are those black things? That's your black pepper. And it's, you don't even taste it. I'm like, I'm going to have to spice this up. So I have my own, I actually make it Creole flavored gravy when I do my biscuits and gravy with sausage. It is yum because I can't do Southern gravy.
That sounds good, man.
So you've made so many bold moves in your life, and your life today, I'm sure, is not what you thought it would be when you were younger. What would you say to 18-year-old Wiz based on what you know now?
18-year-old Wiz, she was just now trying to figure out what she's going to do. She was going to Lehman College for nursing. What I would tell her is stop, take a step back. What is it that you truly want? Don't listen to the outside noise, but what is it that you truly, truly want? Do you want to be on TV? Do you want to be on the radio? Do you want to cook in front of a lot of people? If so, do that. But first, you got to go ahead, do your research so that plan A could work, because we're not falling on plan B. Plan A got to work. There's no if, ands, or buts. You got to literally focus, put your head down, and make sure that you get your head in the game. Had I known this when I was 18 years old, when it came to researching and taking risks and knowing that there are going to be obstacles, but just picking yourself up after those obstacles, like you're going to be okay. Because, child, this journey, there's been so many obstacles. And had it not been my faith or my belief in the Lord, or making sure that I have like a huge support system, I would not be where I am today. I would not have the accolades that I have right now. I would not have worked with the amazing people that I have worked with today. So yeah, that's what I would tell 18-year-old Wiz. I would tell her, step back. What is it that you truly want to do? If that's what you want to do, let's research and let's go ahead and create a plan. Like write it down so we can go after.
I love that. Yeah. And you're so young still. Like, who knows what your life is going to look like in 10 years with all these opportunities. And you have so many gifts and talents. We'll have to redo this podcast in 10 years and be like, okay, tell us how that story, how God led you this way.
Yep. I'm looking forward to that. I don't even feel like where I am right now is nowhere compared to where I truly want to be. Granted, where I am right now is so much further than where I truly thought I would. But in 10 years, I feel like it's just going to be onward and upward. There's going to be bigger things, bigger wins, bigger accomplishments. I could only continue to ask God to just use me, like use me as a vessel so I could be like whatever I can be for others. Because I tell my story to a lot of people and it's so crazy to see people inspired by honestly and truly, God is literally using me as that person to say, like, so I went through this. I got kicked down this time. There were times when my lights was off and I was still trying to go ahead and do what I needed to do when it came to pursuing my dreams, like being an inspiration to a lot of people. That's big in my book. And I have a lot of people that I'm inspired by, that I continue to see, that continues to lead, and I'm led by them. And I just want to, be a better Widza than I was yesterday,
I think sometimes there's either stigma or hesitation with getting help and like going to your therapist and having breakthroughs. Like we all need to be doing that. You all brush your teeth every day. You all should see a therapist too, because we all got things that affect us and we need to work through it. And we don't know what we don't know. And to get the help is what's so important, so we can get outside our bubble and get fresh perspective. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. I feel my cultural background don't believe in therapy. My parents, they didn't get taught that. As I grew up, I'm like, is this something that can in fact help me? And I remember the year that I ended up going to, I've been in therapy for probably about 6 years now. When I first was in Sound Lounge, I told myself, I was like, you know what, Widza, you need help. Like, as much as you think that you can do this by yourself, you cannot do this by yourself. And yes, we do in fact have God. We have him to go ahead and talk to, and he's in the spiritual realm. But to have somebody on earth here that we can fully like talk to and let them know like what's happening, and they give us the tools, I feel like that's just God getting into somebody's head and telling them what to do, telling you what to do from them. I got into therapy, and I feel like by being in therapy, that has helped me in my professional career too. Because in all honesty, this Widza that's here today, she was not the Widza 5-6 years ago. I was going through it, okay? Especially as a mom, a new mom. So it was a lot to break through. It was a lot of trauma to go through. I stuck through it, and I felt like it ended up helping me with giving me the tools that I needed, not only in my personal life, but in my professional life as well.
And I hope that's encouraging for people who are listening to know that this is a good thing. I'm always telling people, I don't know why you're hesitating. Just do it. Somebody's going to listen to you, and you don't have to listen to their stuff. That's what else do you want?
And I love to talk. This time, let's go ahead and I will speak. So for me, every week when I speak to my therapist, I'm unloading on her. And it's not like any judgments. There's no kind of like, oh, like, why would she do that? Of course, there's going to be times where like, well, do you feel like that was effective? Do you think that was cool? Like, it's helping you with reflecting with yourself. Like, you really are getting back like, maybe that wasn't right. Maybe I should have went about this a different way. Maybe I should speak to this person a certain way. And that, in fact, that helps your growth. So yes, like you said, therapy is a great thing. Team therapy.
Yes, 100%. Before we close up, is there anything that you would like to share, how people can find you, your resources, your recipes?
Well, you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is Shef Wiz, which is my full name, W-I-D like dog, Z like zebra, A. My recipes, I have a couple on foodnetwork.com. You can take a look at those. I have a soup joumou recipe that's on there as well. And you can also find me on Vice, which actually the website is still up. Vice Munchies. I have a couple of recipes on there too, where you can be able to see how to make plantain sandwiches, as well as a infamous Haitian dish, which is called akra, which is something that we usually have in something called frita. It's like a fried board of goodness.
That sounds yummy. Cool. We will look that up, and I will have some links also on the podcast. Thank you so much, Wiz, for hanging out with me. It's been a couple of years since we've hung out.
No, it's been forever, but I'm glad we were able to do it this way. It was such an honor.
Thanks for sharing your story. Thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of Being Brown and Bold. We hope that you were encouraged, and we're so glad that you got to be here. Wiz is the best. It was so fun to work with her on Chopped, and we just had this camaraderie. So to have her share about her brown heritage of being Haitian, I'm so glad that you got to listen to this conversation. There are so many more amazing conversations I've had. So make sure you subscribe and click back to all these talks that I've had with these amazing people. I hope you have a wonderful day. Be wise and be bold.